All right, what's up, guys? Today we are going to go over a weekly outlook of kind of what we expect to possibly go happen next week. So let's get down and into it. So first and foremost, we're going to go over our weekly journal that we go over every week, and I'm going to be creating a video real soon on how exactly to create this trend journal here and what you can use it for. So there's multiple different things that you can use it for. So we are on day 17 of a downtrend. The last downtrend we had was only 15 days. So this is kind of an idea where possibly this could be a reversal point based on the length of the downtrends we've had in the past over the last 2 years. The last couple downtrends we had before that were 10 days and 11 days. So we're right in that kind of area. We're in 17 days right now. So we could see some sort of push up, and that goes with our narrative that we were talking about last week, where we kind of want to see more of a sideways action in August to follow suit with seasonality instead of going against the seasonality in a crazy way. So we want to see more of a sideways action in August. That way, if we do have a pullback in September, it's not as bad as we think, and we could have some sort of a double bottom or a sideways action to build a base and then have a move up for the rest of the year if the kind of fundamental and higher economic status really allow us to. And so we're going to go into the charts next. We did see a nice upside reversal for the week, which we'll go into, and that's something that we are definitely keeping watch of. We did have semis as they should. When the market leads, semis should be leading. And so we are seeing that move of the semis are leading, and then also fintech and software is leading as well. And that's one of the narratives that when the market is going up and NASDAQ is going up, your leaders should be growth stocks. And that's kind of what we're seeing as well. So going to a chart, we are below a 21-day moving average. We're at the 10-day moving average, and we're below a 50-day moving average. So short term, we're still, or midterm, we're still bearish until we can get above this 21-day moving average right here. Let me get rid of that. Excuse me. So we are bearish until we get over this 21-day moving average. This is my depiction of swing trading and more of a longer term trend of if we're above the 21 day, it's going to go bullish. If we're below it, it's more likely to be bearish to neutral. So right now, we're kind of in that bearish to neutral phase. So if we go over to a weekly chart here, let's get rid of a lot of these. We bounced right at our 50-week moving average, right at our 40-week moving average, which has been a bounce spot in downtrends before. Bounced here, almost bounced here. And if we go to our 40-week, the 40-week moving average is the same as the 200-day moving average as well. And so our 40-week moving average, boom, 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 we're right on it. It's pointing to the upside. We had a great upside reversal candle going into that 40-week moving average, so we could expect possible upside movements next week. And what an upside reversal is that is where you take out the previous day's low and then close at above the 50% mark. So ideally above 3/4 of the percentage of the week. And so this one we closed at the highs of the week. We took out multiple liquidity. We even took out this liquidity here, just barely. And now we could be looking for a upside move, probably more of a chop, like I was saying. I would like to see more sideways action for 4 weeks or more, 4 to 8 weeks before really starting to push towards these highs. I think that would be ideal. Something similar to this or even this, where we had one, two, three, four. And if you include just off of this high, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven for a shakeout, and then went up. So I would like to still see some more of a sideways action. What we'll be looking at for next week is this small fair value gap on the weekly. We're going to see if we react off of it. My initial thoughts are we could go past it, and that would be perfectly fine. We have a fair value gap up here and some inverted fair value gaps in here as well. So those are kind of some areas on a weekly chart that I'm looking at. On a daily chart, we have this daily fair value gap we were watching all last week, hoping and waiting to see if it's going to come into it. Well, on Monday we had a crazy gap down and it recovered from that and it has not gone fully into this fair value gap quite yet. And so we'll be watching to see how it reacts at this level and then up here at this level. When we go into a 4 hour, I really like the top one the best. It's more around here because we have this very noticeable, very large 4 hour fair value gap. So that's kind of where I would like to see us push up to here, and then we're going to see how we react from there. By then, we could be above a 21-day moving average and above a 50-day moving average. And if we are, then we would switch our downtrend in our trend journal from a downtrend into a uptrend, and then we'll look to possibly continue higher. What I think would be best over the next 2 months, I think it would be best and the the best way to get a sustainable rally would be to come up here, come down, undercut here in September, base out a little bit, and then go over in October, start making its ways towards its highs. If we're going to continue bullish, because I would like to see some sort of a double bottom action or a base along these lows before continuing higher. And that would build a floor for us to use as a potential loss. So if it comes up, barely undercuts this and then continues higher, there's our floor. We don't want to see it break below that level. And so that's what I'm looking at with Nasdaq. I think it'll be we have an insane amount of news coming this week, so be prepared for a volatile week. If we go into our news tablet on TradingView, Monday, nothing as normal. Monday usually is not a great day to trade. Tuesday, we have PPI, core PPI, we have unemployment rates, we have inflation rate year over year, and I think that's it for us. Oh, inflation rate is British. So we have core PPI, and that's the key one for this for Monday. And looks like business optimism, which won't do anything. And then Tuesday, this one's another. Nope, Tuesday is the core PPI. Wednesday is CPI and mortgage rates. So mortgage rates in the morning, which won't do anything. And then CPI afterwards. CPI is the one we're really watching for. That's probably going to be make the biggest move and really could determine the direction of the week. Next, and that is on Wednesday. That's a key. That's in the middle of the week. If CPI comes out well, we could continue higher for the week. If CPI comes out bad, then it could cause some sort of downside reversal. Next Thursday, we don't have a ton of news, but there's a little bit. Export prices and jobless claims we've seen this week. I think it was yesterday where we seen a huge move right at jobless claims. So we'll go here. I think it was Thursday. Yeah, Thursday, jobless claims. We ran up 180 points, came back down, tagged that fair value gap, and then ran another 500 points. So jobless claims right now could make a decent move. We're going to Thursday. And I think that's all for Thursday, and then nothing on Friday. So that's the news that we have for the week. Fridays and Mondays tend to not have as much news, and as we see this week, they don't as well. Building permits, housing permits, Michigan Consumer Center, all mild stuff, but nothing too crazy. I don't really think any of that is going to do anything. The main keys that I look for in news is CPI, PPI, and FOMC, and jobless claims. The rest of the other everything other than that usually is just they might make a small move, but it's not going to be anything significant and not anything that we really have to worry about. So that's what I'm looking at in a larger time frame for Nasdaq. On a 4 hour, I would like to see a a push down into here into this little BPR here, and that would show that okay, now we're respecting bullish order flow, and then create a fair value gap on its way out of that, and that would really show make the Nasdaq show its hand. Next, we'll go with ES. Essentially, very pretty much the same thought process. If we get above this fair value gap here, we're most likely to come towards this fair value gap on the 4 hour level. Same BPR that we're looking at. here on ES, you could even just use this inverted fair value gap. Now that we inverted it, it should be continued held as support. So ES, same thing, looking for higher, and then we're gonna watch to see what happens from there. The VIX, we mentioned last week how the VIX was kind of really getting ready for a push up. And then, yeah, so we were watching for a push up to the VIX. I've been talking about this in our Discord for a while now, that whenever it gets down to this 13 to $11 level, you see here on a weekly, it almost always has a bounce, at least a 20 to 30. And see this whole zone here. Every time it gets there, it bases out for a little while and then breaks out. Eventually, a lot of times it gets much higher. And that's what we've seen happen. So we've seen the VIX moving up, and then we've seen a crazy downside reversal on the VIX on Monday, which nobody really expected Monday. The moves that we had on Monday, it was up 125%, and now it's back down to where it was on Thursday, on Friday's open. So it moved up 120% and then gave it all back. So very different, definitely very interesting with VIX. I'll be watching how we react at this gap fill here at 1826. Gold kind of made the exact kind of move, made the move that we expected it to make. Came down to these lows here after respecting this fair value gap. So last week we said, hey, if it respects this fair value gap, it's probably at least going to come to these lows as a low-hanging fruit, if not these lows as your next target. And that's exactly what happened. It respected this fair value gap, then came to the lows, and now it's been ranging ever since. With gold, I would like to see it come down into this fair value gap on the 4-hour chart and do something very similar here. So come down to it, respect it, and then come back up to these highs at 25, 23. That would be the draw I'm looking for. The weekly chart definitely has that look to where it could start getting crazy. You got how many weeks straight is this? 17 weeks of just sideways action here in gold. And it's just the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, one, two, three. That's very close, tight action for the closing ranges. So the closing ranges for the last 4 weeks have been within, so here's the lowest and here's the highest, have been within 2.5%. And when you start seeing closing ranges really tight like that, a lot of times that signals institutional support, institutional accumulation. Similar to right here, our closing ranges from this low to this low was 1.8%. And then see here, we blasted off right after. So once you start seeing tight closing ranges on a weekly chart, that's signaling that we're getting ready for a further move. And so we could be seeing a move back up to these highs in gold. We'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. UJ did similar, exactly what we were really looking for as well. Took out the lows right here. Okay. Oh, I wanted it to come to here, but that's okay. We came right towards these lows, and now we're coming to a fair value gap on a daily chart. This is a key level I'm watching for DXY and UJ is this fair value gap on the daily chart. DXY has the exact same one that I just pointed out in UJ. So if they invert that, we could definitely be looking for higher prices. Bare minimum, this next fair value gap or this high. On a weekly chart, we have a great upside reversal. We have a weekly fair value gap as well that could make a move from as too. So the weekly fair value gap on DXY and UJ are kind of going to be keys for your Forex market. If it decides to continue up and disrespect that, then we could see pushes in USD pairs and push downs in things like Euro dollar and in GBP. If not, then we could see a push to the upside. So I'm really watching this. I think it would be right around 104. How we react at 104 is going to be a huge key for the week. And then Euro did exactly as we were thinking last week, came right to that draw on liquidity, and then got rejected right after. And the correlation between Euro and GBP that I mentioned was wonderful as well because I said GBP doesn't have as clean of a draw it's not going to be as good of a trade, and GBP didn't even take out the highs like Euro did. It had already taken out the highs previous a couple weeks back. And so that one, the Euro is so far clean. It did have a downside reversal on the weekly chart, which I don't like as much, making me think that DXY might be a little stronger. Um, Vice versa though, GBP did not create a fair value gap on a weekly. It had an upside reversal, which we'll be watching to see if it could potentially make a move back to these highs. Nice set of equal highs here. Let me get rid of some of this. Actually, that one was a weekly fair value gap. So if you look here, had an upside reversal at a weekly fair value gap, a level of interest. Going into a 4 hour, we want to see this 4 hour fair value gap right here that I'm about to map out. This 4 hour fair value gap needs to get held. And if it does get held, we could see a lot of targets higher since there's a lot of equal highs up here. Equal highs here, and then a high here. So this could be a market maker model that has not quite shifted to the upside yet. So we'll have to be waiting to see, make sure that it's respecting bullish order flow instead of disrespecting bullish order flow. So if this fair value gets held and it creates a fair value gap breaking this high, then we'll be starting to look for these levels towards the highs. So that's what I got for you guys for this week. Looking a little higher. It's going to be a wild week with CPI, so be ready for some volatility. And we'll see you on Monday. Every week, every day, we do a stream on playlist on Playbit at market open right at 9:30 Eastern. Sometimes I'm in there a little early, so we'll be streaming for about an hour, and we'll go over the moves, we'll go over the order break, go over everything else, and see how we react for the week. So I appreciate you guys for coming. Enjoy the rest of your day.